Hi, and welcome to this week's Thursday interview with Global TV. I'm here with Chris Kunkler from the Kate Kennedy Club. And before we talk a bit about Saturday's procession, would you like to tell us a bit about the club itself?
Yep, certainly. So the club was formed in 1926 by a couple of students. They wanted to resurrect a procession that had been banned in 1881, but had roots going back much further than that, the Kate Kennedy Procession. They were inspired by a speech 4 years previously by the rector then, Sir J.M. Barry. And the club as it exists today, well, we put on the procession, but we have three main aims, one of which is to maintain and uphold the traditions of the university and town. The second one is to maintain town and gown relations, and the third one is to raise money for local five charities.
Oh, excellent. And what makes this Saturday procession so important?
Well, since the resurrection of the procession was in 1926, that means obviously that it is now 90 years exactly since the procession was resurrected. So we kind of thought we wanted to mark the 90th anniversary of the procession with sort of a special program of events.
Excellent. And why do you think people should come down and see the procession this weekend?
Well, personally, I think it's always a bit strange with students because obviously a lot of them will just see it on the street. They'll be kind of going out to Tesco's or something and they'll just kind of stumble upon it. But I think, and I've always believed, when you turn up at this university, it doesn't just materialise. It's based on 600 plus years of accumulated history, and every single one of the people represented in the procession, they gave something to this town. They changed it in a way. They might have changed the university, the town. They may have been luminaries abroad, but it's hard to imagine now. But for example, the fact that J.S. Mill was a rector here, or the fact that John Honey, these names might not mean anything to anyone, but his brave actions, they shaped the university that you're at, and thus they had an impact on your university career. And who knows, anyone who's watching this, anyone who comes to this day might have an impact on this university. They'll be in the procession. Our lives at university now, in however minimal a way, will impact future students, and I think it's important to commemorate that, because after some years it can become, for the townsfolk, it can become normal, it can become commonplace. So every year render something that's not particularly spectacular in every day, make it spectacular.
And what are your special plans to commemorate the 90th anniversary this weekend?
Okay, well, when we sort of realised that it was 90 years and we wanted to make something of the procession, we decided that obviously the heritage of this university, everything is collective. It's about community. So the kind of buzzword for us was, how do we make this into a real community event, drawing together as many strands as we can. So we came up with this family fun day idea, and we put up this marquee on Lower College lawn, and that part over there, obviously you can see that behind the camera, but it'll be opened up on Saturday from 10 a.m, starting at 10 a.m, finishing at 4, and we've just put on a series of sort of book talks, musical performances, dancing. We've even got the Shire of Care Caledonia, I believe they're called, doing battle reenactment. We've got kids from the local charities, Home Start, Children's First, coming along. We've got sort of a crafts area for the families, for the children, and basically we're just hoping that kind of members of the town, students, families, they'll come, drop in, have a drink. Some of the procession characters will be milling around a bit earlier, come and kind of enjoy the fact and revel in the fact that St Andrews is unique as a university town, really, in the size that it is. We really fosters social bonds of real incredible strength, and I think people should come down and celebrate that. We've also we've been doing the longer running projects. We've been doing this thing called the Great St Andrews Tapestry. Basically, this incredibly helpful townsperson who will hate to be named in this video, his name is Mark Dennis, though I am going to praise him. He spent an incredibly long time sketching out 80 characters from the procession, which we then photocopied and sent to all the primary schools in St Andrews, so Canongate, St Leonard's and Madras. and they, in their art classes, in their primary school art classes, they coloured in the procession characters and they got to learn a bit about them, and we collated them all on this one banner, which will be hanging outside St Salvator's Quad on the Saturday. It's really eye-catching. It's not historically accurate. The colours are wild, but it should be really eye-catching, and I hope the kids that are involved in it learn a bit and had a good time sort of colouring it all in.
Great. And lastly, what events should we be looking forward to?
After this, it's business as usual with KK events. So we have our annual Kate Kennedy Club Football Sixes tournament. So that'll be taking place on the 24th of April, I think, Sunday the 24th of April, which will be opening team sign-ups for soon. So hopefully people will get together their teams of 6 and enter. And then we've got the Gaudi, which is the annual torchlit procession on the pier, which happens every year on the 30th of April to commemorate the incredible bravery of a former student named John Honey. So that'll be happening, and then the very next day, unfortunately for the student population, it's just the way that the calendar worked out between the end of teaching and the start of exams. The very next day is May Ball, which means that it's the Gaudi, then May Dip in the evening into the morning, and then May Ball the next day. So there's nothing to do about that but kind of suck it up and get on with it, I think. But it should be fun. It should be a fun weekend.
Yeah, it sounds good. Thank you very much for staying. We hope that your weekend goes well.
Thank you very much for having me.